Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our next game. We are going to be starting down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Top of the red Protoss player. Give it up for Scarlett. Team expert. You know, the Zerg player, Scarlett. All right, and spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Protoss player. Give it up for JYP. Alright, glad to hear it, Agamemnon. For those who are wondering on the YouTube VODs, it's just talking with some of the people in the chat, making sure all the sound levels and everything sound okay, but we got a Protoss versus Protoss from our Zerg hero, the Queen of Blades, Scarlett. For those who don't know, Scarlett did go for Protoss in that very, very famous Protoss versus Zerg game against Don Regu at MLG Anaheim 2014, one of the most exciting moments in StarCraft 2 history. But that wasn't just like a rare occurrence. Scarlett plays a lot of Protoss. Like, she actually plays a fairly decent amount. She is Grandmaster on Korea. I think she's top 40 GM on Korea as Protoss. At least last time she streamed, that's what she was saying. And it's pretty damn good, and it's pretty damn scary, and it's very abusive. It's very, very abusive. Scarlett basically just does all of the things that every single Zerg player hates about Protoss, and everything that she hears Terran players dislike about Protoss, she'll do. And she just somehow has this natural affinity for being a total jerk with Protoss. It's a lot of fun to watch, and we'll see kind of what I mean, hopefully, in this game. But PvP can be a little bit more of a tricky situation, just because PvP is one of those matchups that can be very unforgiving in trying to, I guess, not react to your opponent. You have to play a more reactionary style. But JYP, for those who don't know, former player, and now is one of the main Korean commentators these days. I don't know how much StarCraft he's been playing. I know that he's still been staying up pretty high level in terms of skill, but also worth noting Scarlett getting the absolute worst scout possible. Now realizing that it's in the bottom right, and pylon coming down over here. JYP trying to get aggressive. This Mothership Core, there's no way this Mothership Core gets there in time, so the pylon finishing up was actually just a complete and total waste. Didn't even really block mining. Like, if the pylon was able to go down over here, you actually completely block off this mineral patch. Probes have to go all the way around to this side of the mineral field to try and mine from this one. So that would have been nice, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Mothership Core is making its way across the map just to get scouting information at this point, but there are already two stalkers out. And we do have a Stargate coming out for Scarlett, so Scarlett's next two gateway units are not really coming out. And where are the stalkers? They're actually already out on the map. Photon Overcharge coming out. Ooh, a bit of a wasted Photon Overcharge, actually. As the Mothership Core says, you know, I found another opportunity. And that's a kind of a big deal. Scarlett is going for a Stargate, so she's looking to be the one getting aggressive, but so is JYP, albeit a lot later of a Stargate. But having less Photon Overcharges definitely makes a big difference, especially when your opponent is charging across the map with 4 Stalkers, and Scarlett opted to go for the faster Stargate, as well as also a relatively quick Mothership Core, so now she's just actually not going to have any Photon Overcharges anymore. That is it. All the Stalkers have also been sniped off. Stalkers being microed back. JYP taking an enormous lead so far, potentially, in this game. One more Stalker gets taken out, though, and JYP may start getting cleaned up over here. A couple of workers being pulled. Scarlett loses another Stalker. This Phoenix is going to run out of energy now. It's going to be completely dead weight. And it looks like the Mothership Core for Scarlett gets taken out. 2 more Stalkers do finally warp in, and they're going to be able to take out JYP's. But the damage has been done. Just how many workers were killed over there? Phoenixes are also going to be coming out. So there is kind of a weird situation where JYP went into Stargate, which I guess is kind of an odd decision, given that he saw Scarlett was so much faster with it. Maybe he was hoping to go into Phoenix production before Scarlett, but now he just risks that weird spot where Scarlett moves into the Phoenix and says, oh, you made a Stargate too? Well then, if I just camp out on top of your production, I will always have a Phoenix lead. Scarlett is guaranteed, as long as she doesn't lose any Phoenix and doesn't halt Phoenix production, will have a Phoenix lead. over JYP most likely. JYP is going to have these stalkers in the mix, so maybe JYP can make a big kind of early attack. Oh, I like this. Uses one of the Phoenix lift-ups, catches one of the stalkers because he knows the Phoenix counts are not high enough just yet for Scarlett to really pose a big danger. One Phoenix for JYP already goes down. That's a nice start for the defense for Scarlett. Supplies are actually surprisingly even, and Melted Core Photon Overcharge is going to be actually very, very important for defending over here if JYP commits, but JYP ends up backing up. I don't think that he actually had enough gateways to really continue that aggression. 2 gateways, yeah, you really do. If you want to go all in on that, you got to drop down a couple more. But JYP halted the Phoenix production, staying around at just 3. It's going to be enough to, I guess, like buy 2.3 seconds against Scarlett's Phoenix, because that's how fast Phoenix kill each other. Really just going to be relying on that ground army. It does have a big lead there, but Photon Overcharge is pretty good at knocking this army back. I don't know if JYP can still break through on Scarlett's army. Scarlett's also starting to take a bit of that worker lead, although it looks like they're going to be evening it up pretty soon as Scarlett stopped worker production and JYP is continuing it on forward. The big question is, where do players go from here? Scarlett, as the Phoenix player, has been very, very passive, surprisingly. Normally, as a Phoenix player, you are the one putting on aggression. Normally, as the Phoenix player, you are the one that is constantly trying to pick your opponent apart, finding idle or finding workers mining that are a little bit more vulnerable, and getting economic leads while making it difficult for your opponent to move out. But JYP, because of the early nature of how this game started off, was able to force Scarlett back. He was able to get aggressive first. So now Scarlett has all these Phoenix, but hasn't really done too much with them. But I think at this point, this is like the moment when Scarlett should be moving in and kind of poking into the, I think, the main base, trying to get some damage done. JYP is adding in a lot of gateways now, potentially to try and go to a big 2-base follow-up attack with a lot of stalkers to try and punish Scarlett, but I'm not sure if it's really going to work. Scarlett's adding on another Stargate and a Fleet Beacon to potentially go into Air Toss. Now, for those who don't know, late game carriers is still incredibly strong. It is still insanely, ridiculously strong in this matchup. And to be honest, it is also very strong against the traditional Disruptor follow-up in PvP. But getting there is incredibly difficult. Most Protoss players just die, and even if they do manage to survive getting there, oftentimes you're doing it at the sacrifice of a 3rd expansion or, you know, a better economy, and you just end up kind of dying because you only got out 2 or 3 carriers, and your opponent just has an overwhelming number of units. If you can get up to the high enough numbers, though, they still reign supreme in this matchup by a large margin. JYP is researching Blink, though, so all hope is not lost, and actually continuing some of that Phoenix production. Going to be producing a lot slower than Scarlett. Still seeing 9 to 12, but, and that might not seem like a big difference, but even a 1 Phoenix difference plays a huge, huge impact in the engagement. Oh, actually evening things up a little bit more, and with so many more stalkers than Scarlett, could actually make this work. Void Rays are going to be popping out pretty soon, and here we go. Phoenix actually lifting up some of the stalkers. Photon Overcharge is going to be able to force these units back. JYP needs to utilize Blink, but Blink is not finished researching just yet. Could actually blink to the main base now that it's finished up. Maybe just waiting for that Photon Overcharge to wear off and making sure Scarlett doesn't have full vision of these units. Scarlett did get Anion Pulse Crystals, so her Phoenix are just straight up 150% better than her opponents, JYP's, but as all the Phoenix get picked off, this is the moment where Scarlett can start to turn things around. She can start to lift up some of these stalkers if they ever overcommit. The Void Rays, in addition, can also start to heavily punish any of these stalkers that start to overcommit or even just get lifted up by those Phoenix. Now the synergy is going to be there for Scarlett, and, well, more Void Rays being produced. We still don't have any of the carriers or even Tempest actually coming out just yet, though. JYP is continuing with Stalker production, but also getting up a Templar Archives, thinking, hey, you know what? Archon's pretty strong. They'll soak a lot of hits, but also they cannot be lifted up by those Phoenix. They're not going to be taking extra damage from the Void Rays. We'll see if JYP can actually get to a point where he can make use of them, though. I guess he is building up a little bit of a gas bank. Scarlett feeling comfortable enough to move across the map with her Phoenix. She doesn't even have Photon Overcharges available. This is a super feels like a super dangerous position to go into that. But she's going to get away with it. Phoenix make their way to the other side of the map. They start to lift up some of these workers. Multiple Fulgent Overcharges drop down, but not a single Phoenix sees its death. And Scarlett even going to be able to catch potentially some of the Phoenix of JYP. JYP is almost home, but he's down to 25, 24 workers and still dropping rapidly. Going to be losing a couple more and still cannot even produce anything out of that Stargate right now, because even if he had the economy for it, those Phoenix would be sniping off anything that popped out during that time. Third expansion is also going to get scouted out by Scarlett's Phoenix, and this is the problem. If you try to go up against a player that gets out this many Phoenix, and they ever get an opportunity to move across the map and do any kind of damage to you, you just lose so many workers. There's no real solid way for a lot of Protoss players to deal with this number of Phoenix from killing off an insane number of workers and just getting an incredible economic lead. If they are able to defend back at home, Phoenix can also kill off a ton of workers and still make their way back home. And oh god, they find the other Phoenix. JYP loses his only real semblance of anti-air that can actually movement-wise keep up with your opponents. And yes, for anyone that's actually just checking this out a little bit on the later side through the live Twitch video, this is Max Scarlett, the red Protoss player. She is off racing as Protoss. But okay, here we go. We got a lot of Void Rays in the mix. What is that? 7 Void Rays? 8 Void Rays? Versus JYP's army. This is going to obliterate it. Unless JYP catches these Void Rays and the Phoenix kind of off guard by themselves. Most of the Phoenix have been picked off. There's only 4 left around, which... Okay, well, there's only 3 left around now. I was going to say 4 is still enough that you can be annoying and pick off some probes here and there. And 3, you still technically can. But if even 1 more goes down, it feels pretty pointless to try and even get any harassment done. Although lifting up some workers over on the middle line. Oh, wow. Doing a nice job over here. Feedbacks could be used on these Phoenix, but I mean, to what end? They've already used up most of their energy at this point. It prevents a little bit of harassment for a little while, but not really the amount that I think needs to happen. Mothership is now out though, and Scarlett leads up the game at 50 supply ahead in her off-race Protoss in a mirror matchup versus a really good Protoss player from back in the day and commentator, JYP. I actually think that the Void Rays alone, they legitimately, if they took a direct engagement versus this Stalker count, I think the Void Rays by themselves could win this. Mothership Core actually has enough energy. Oh, good storms. Mothership Core has enough energy that with a good feedback, it will kill the entire shields of the Mothership. I say Mothership Core, but it's a Mothership. Oracle going to be coming out for JYP. That's going to be a nice way to just try and reveal the army. Oh, Void Rays are by themselves. If JYP only knew. Could have actually blunk under and snipe some of those Void Rays off. That would have been his best chance at engagement, but it's not really going to end up happening. Like I said before, I think that the Void Rays can take on this army of JYP by themselves. Well, maybe not with the Storms. The Storms do add a bit of a complication, but I don't think it's too big of a complication for Scarlett to deal with just this army. I'm surprised no feedback's trying to come down on that Mothership. Even just preventing a time warp would actually be really, really valuable in this situation, but as carriers start to come out for Scarlett, the timer, it's not even a timer, it's an alarm clock that's been going off for 3 to 5 minutes saying, hey, you need to do something right now because this game was already going to be tilting in Scarlett's favor 5 minutes ago. Man, Scarlett even has the +1 air weapons, is finally getting up +2 air weapons. But I think this has to be the final hurrah. If JYP doesn't push in now, there's no time he's ever going to be able to push in. Slowly starting to whittle away at one of the gas guys, who just doesn't even get the gas guys, or sees the carriers and says, oh god. I mean, technically, theoretically, you can storm the carrier interceptors, take him out of the fight, but those interceptors are going to be on top of your own army. Ooh, those are really good storms. Taking out all the shields of the Void Rays, but at the cost of a lot of energy, and I'm pretty sure that energy is going to take a lot longer to regenerate than those shields. no real devastating damage was done to the Void Rays themselves. Yeah, there were 3 storms that went down, but there were 3 storms very closely back to back and pretty much in the same spot, just trying to maximize the damage that they could there. Oracle taking a little bit of damage, but gets another revelation off on some of the units. Cactus Valley is also not a very friendly map to try to engage into an air army with a ground one. Looks like Oracle's getting sniped off. Scarlett still active with these Phoenix. Killing off the only form of detection that JYP has. JYP, man, you put up a good fight, but you're down 40 supply in a PvP with a gateway-based force against carriers and a mothership and Void Rays. It's not looking too good for you, man. I'm trying to be an optimist here. And you got some good storms, but I think that Scarlett just focus fires down every single one of the High Templar. Phoenix actually kill off the Mothership Core, so not even Photon Overcharge is going to be saving him now. Stalker's going to try and move around for, I assume, a base trade, but Scarlett could probably just rely on Warpins and send back, like, just the ground force. Leave the air force to take out the rest of the bases. It is theoretically a base trade. Ace 1, Ace 2. Scarlett recalls with about half of the army, leaves the rest of the half, and well, this half of the army is going to be more than enough to obliterate the Stalker count. Mothership does get taken out, and one Stalker survives, but every other pylon is going to be taken out. All of the production is going to get taken out over here, and Scarlett is most likely going to claim victory as she now leads up 100 supply. GG. Scarlett doing quite well on the ladder.